Welcome to PEP Talks with Eric, the podcast where self-work becomes system work. I'm your host, Eric Ayers, creator and author of SimRx, Transforming Healthcare, Leadership, and Culture by Design. This show is your space to shift perspectives, ignite action, and remember who you are and who we are in the process. Every week, we spark transformation, from burnout to breakthrough, from surviving to designing. You'll hear real stories, real tools, and real humans doing real work. So let's shift, let's build, and let's spark what's next together. I'll see you inside. Welcome to another episode of PEP Talks with Eric. I'm your host, Eric Ayers, and today I'm crazy excited because we have been working to get this combination together for a really long time. And today I'm bringing you Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and we met, hit it off. I was on her podcast and we immediately agreed that she's got to be on this podcast to share her story and to shift the way that we think about humanity, the way that we think about medicine, the way that we think about healthcare. So let's dive right in. Dr. Kalpana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Yeah, for sure. We had some technical issues, some misscheduling, but I'm a firm believer that timing is everything. And yeah, I think this is the right time for us to speak. So once again, thank you.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to dive into this with you.
So, all right, we share a commonality we both have pasts in healthcare, right? Different levels. You come from the physician side, I come from the nursing side. However, we both transitioned out of bedside. And before we get into that, can you just give me a little backstory of what that was like? And then we'll reevaluate around that transition of leaving and kind of dive into what you're doing now.
Perfect. So I did it for about 25 years. So I was an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. I had my own practice. I had my own medical spa. So it was very busy, and I really thought I was living my true purpose, but somehow I was feeling that wasn't it. Deep, if there was quiet time, which there wasn't a lot of, between being married and raising two young boys and all the things, there wasn't a lot of quiet time. But every now and then in that quiet time, I just felt that there was more to life than this. And I didn't really have a clue what that was. And I didn't know why I was even getting these crazy thoughts because after all, I was a surgeon. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I felt like I've accomplished something most people don't do. So anyway, I just went through life, just kind of did all my things. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel. It was the same stuff every single day, give or take. And I have to say, I just felt very burnt out. I felt burnt out by the system. I felt burnt out by the people that I was around who weren't seeing things the same way I was seeing them.
Yeah.
That was hard for me. And then I felt very isolated. I guess that's the best word. Even though there's so much teamwork, so to speak, in medicine, I felt very isolated because I didn't feel that I thought the same way. I didn't have the same values as those other people. So I was a little confused, I think is the best word to describe it, until I started to really dive into it and figure it out.
Awesome. And I say awesome because there's a lot of commonalities here. I'm not going to say there's one, but a few key things popped up. One, the isolation, the feeling of isolation. And that seems to go hand in hand with burnout because survival mode creates isolation. It creates an idea. And this is what I have found is it creates the idea that our self has to be set up to be to survive, right? So it shifts the view on the external world because it says, no, we have to protect. And in its state of being, it creates isolation. And so I've found something very similar. And also the silo effect, it creates the silos that we're in. And it's almost as if the system is created for this to naturally happen, and it's a fight to come in to say, no, 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 we are together. So let's get rid of silos. Let's bridge this. Let's move beyond survival and into thriving. But ultimately, to me, it's the purpose. So like you identified that early on, where is my purpose? And when the purpose isn't there, it's almost like, well, what the hell is this for? Right? Like
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I put in all this work to get here. Now
Right.
what? Now
But
what?
I wonder if that's what created a little bit of that silo for me because number one, I didn't think the same way as most of the people around me. They were really happy being on the hamster wheel, and I was just trying to figure out how to get out of the hamster wheel. So I didn't want to be there, but they were really okay there. So I didn't understand that. Secondly, it was just this lack of purpose. So, yes, I was making people feel better. I was improving their health. There was a purpose in that. But I think there's a big difference between having a purpose and knowing your true purpose.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a purpose, but was that my final purpose? The truest form of my purpose? It wasn't. I know that now, but I didn't understand that before because people would say, well, you have purpose. You're a doctor. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but that doesn't really feel right.
Ooh, okay. Let's unpackage this, because this to me is true human behavior, human psychology, like at its core. This interests me. This brings to mind the four agreements and the fifth agreement, in where Ruiz says that we all have our own definitions of words. So purpose. It's interesting that you brought that up, because there's you're seeing it from two different sides. And a lot of people overlook that because we use words for conversation, for understanding thoughts, and to get those thoughts across. Okay, so we have that baseline. Moving forward from that, I am serving a purpose. However, it is not my purpose. Meaning, I am bringing purposeful action, which means I can do and be and create purpose in any situation that I'm in, because I'm me. Ooh, and that can go into any job, any relationship. However, does this align with my purpose? Like, and then it's self care at its core versus me always giving and other people receiving and taking. And I'm going to pause right there, because that was a huge shift in my understanding of this. So thank you for that. But does that resonate?
Very, very much so. Because, of course, when I told people this, they just were flabbergasted at why I was saying that I don't have purpose. But on some level, and I don't mean to get too woo, but on some level, my soul knew that there was a bigger purpose. And it wasn't
Mhm.
just this, and it wasn't impacting people on one. And I think when I realized that that was really true for me was when I started doing TV appearances on the media. So what happened was I was invited to be on the news and then was regular there as a guest in Florida. I knew in that moment that now I was impacting thousands of people in a short period of time versus one on one. And I said, wait a minute, this is more like the purpose that I want. But I didn't, it wasn't just that. I just, it's taken me years really to clarify. And to be honest, I keep drilling down on that and get clearer and clearer. Honestly, I had a big breakthrough just today. It's constant, the evolution doesn't stop.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. Um, we're taught to believe, to create a goal,
Mhm.
and even coaching. This is what we do. We assist with goal alignment and goal attainment. But what happens when you reach that goal? You know, like, what happens? Do we stop evolving? Do we stop expanding and enhancing our lives and the lives around us? Like, what happens after that goal? And I think a lot of times, especially when we look at careers, it's we seek something, and then when we get it, then what? Because there's always that question of, now what? Or at least that it was for me.
Oh, same, same. I mean, I built that practice and it was doing great. Then I realized that I didn't really like working in the thing that I built all the time. I mean, I wanted to create it and I wanted to build it, but I didn't want to be the worker in it. I was
Eh,
like, this is
Did you enjoy having other people working in the thing that you built?
yes.
Interesting.
So I enjoyed building it because I'm really good at creating all this stuff and building businesses. And I'm like the architect of the business. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, we could do this and we could do this. But I didn't have to, and it could have gone even further because if I wasn't seeing so many patients, I could have done more. But I didn't realize that was my strength at the time because again, I was really weird, so to speak, for doctor because I actually liked the business aspect of it because it
Mm.
was fun for me. It was like assembling something and creating something from nothing. And that was fun. I don't know. I still love it, to be honest. I still love putting things together in ways that people don't think about. I love that. And, it got to a point where after 25 years, I really was a little bit bored of medicine. I mean, it was the same thing, the same protocols, put them on drugs. I don't know, do surgery. I just felt that there was a better way to have more vitality and have better health. And I didn't always agree with what we were told to do.
Yeah.
So then there was an ethical dilemma. And then I was facing all these identity deaths, I guess, one after the other. I mean, ethically, it didn't fit. Then I was like, well, I like building these businesses, but I don't necessarily like working in it full time, maybe part time just to see how it's going, but not full time. So there was all kinds of issues.
So it seems as though there's a few areas of cognitive dissonance that were happening. So you're doing something you love, but yet you're also working in the thing that you love building that's not bringing the same love. So therefore, it's like I like half of this, but I don't like the other half, as well as then the ethical dilemmas that are coming up of I don't agree with what I'm being, forced to provide. So I believe in health, but I do not believe in the way in which I'm having to present the care, right?
Yes.
So, how does all of this play on your own health, on your own mental clarity, and ultimately on this transition and this journey?
Well, it wreaked havoc
Okay.
on my life, on my nervous system. I mean, I don't know that I mean, the thing I did, I just blew it all up, but that's how I do things. I mean, I'm a manifesting generator, and this might explain. I didn't know that at the time. I'm like, why am I doing this? But I was like, no, it's all just, I gotta just break it all down and start from scratch. And I don't know, I can't do this anymore. I
Yeah.
literally, I leave my medical practice, I get a divorce. I mean, at that point, nothing was working for me because I had built an identity that wasn't mine.
Mm.
Oh my God. In 25 to 30 years, building something that isn't even me. Let me tell you, the moment I realized that was, I don't know, wonderful and terrible all at the same time.
Yeah.
But wonderful because, well, then I guess I knew that I was trapped. Terrible because now what do you do? And if you build an identity, you attract the things that conform to the identity that you built. So if it's not the true thing, you're living a life that feels like a freaking lie. I don't care how successful it is. It feels like a lie. And anybody who knows me knows I do not like lies. I mean, I don't say that straight up. I do not like lies. So living a lie was a very hard thing for me to continue to do. So I just blew it all up. I'm not saying I recommend that, but that's what I did. And then I was like, I don't know. I don't really even know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so it started. The journey that's been going on for the last 5 years.
The journey after the journey, or the pivot, right?
Yeah, there were multiple little journeys in there, of course, but
Yeah. Yeah. That has to be super difficult. From the world of design thinking, that style of innovation is very similar to what you said. Let's blow this up and let's recreate it from the world of possibility. So, what could this actually look like if I removed ego, if I removed constraints, if I removed all of these aspects that I think are causing me to have to live in this situation? What would happen if I blew this up? And that is one of the hardest and most fun things to do. Because it's almost like, even saying that, my 5-year-old self is like, hell yeah, let's blow something up. Like, let's recreate it, But it's very hard when we're emotional beings and we're attached to this thing that we've created called an identity that you spoke of. And anyone who wants to learn how to get rid of an identity, Wayne Dyer has amazing talks on it. And he will straight up say it's not of the faint of heart. Like, it's very difficult. It's not
Very,
easy.
very difficult. I mean, listen, I didn't know how difficult it would be, to be honest. I just did it. And then I was like, what was I thinking? Had I known it was going to be this hard, I wouldn't have done it. Maybe that's why you just don't know. And you just do it. So,
Absolutely. That's why, like, everyone's rock bottom, or the experiences that they say, oh, that was pure hell. That's why, like, if we would have known, if I would have known the health issues that I was going to go through after starting this, I probably would have been like, I don't want to do this. Like, don't sign me up. But afterwards, God, I'm so glad I went through that, because the lessons, the new identity, the new person that comes out on the other side is so much closer to the true Eric.
yeah.
And some of the difficulties, though, is like, mourning the old self. Like, I didn't realize that was a thing until it was a thing. And my wife is presenting to me with, hey, I miss the person I married. And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. So did you have any aha moments on this identity shift of becoming the new you?
Well, let me tell you, I have massive identity shifts very often. I'm often not the same person I was a week ago. I'm getting used to voting the identity death. I don't know. And
Awesome.
I know that this is going to sound really strange, but I have learned not to hold on to people. And that sounds terrible. So, I'm just going to explain that a little bit better. And because I am more committed to the growth of myself than I am committed to holding on to anyone.
Hmm.
And that's, I'm not saying that's good for everybody. It probably isn't good for most people. But I think for whatever reason, I've chosen that path. I think my soul chose that path. It's because it feels very natural to me to keep elevating. And if you can't or don't want to, I'm not trying to let you go, but it often just works. It works that way. It's a frequency thing. You can't, people are not willing to go. They wind up, it just winds up happening. I don't make anything ugly or mean. It just happens because there's a dissonance there. So I've just gotten used to that. And I've learned that the people that are in my life now are really the truest people to me because they're in alignment with the truest version of myself. These are finally the people that I think are really going to stay because these are just different people than I've been experiencing. Because every person you meet at whatever point in your life is really a representation of who you are in that moment.
Mm.
So, if who I was, a month ago doesn't match who I am now. I just keep changing. So I don't know. It is what it is. But I'm saying that now I think the delta is not so big, meaning that I feel the people in my life now are the ones that are going to stay because yes, I'm making some micro shifts and stuff, but it's not the drastic changes that I've made thus far. Hopefully that makes
Right. Yeah. Yes, it made sense. It resonated with me. And it's fascinating because, yes, the people that we interact with are mirrors of our current self. And it's either the things that we recognize are either characteristics that we need to continue growing and working on, or the representation of, like, this is you on this trajectory, right? It's seeing, and it's an interesting concept. So I could spend hours on that. So we won't dive down that rabbit hole quite yet. Um, I'm so I like how you are now at a place to where you say, I don't hold on to people. And the way that I take that is, I don't hold on to people for the sake of holding on to people. It's a,
exactly.
it's a value add both ways. And to me, that's the spirit, that's the true essence of Ubuntu, of I am because we are. If I am being, and in my being, it creates a value add for you and adds life to you, you're going to reciprocate that. And I'm going to become better because you're being you. And to me, you simply said that in a way that is like, I'm done not I'm done giving value and not receiving the value that I need
Exactly.
and that I want, that I deserve based on this reciprocation.
Yeah. And it's like you can sit there and say you want to hold on to all these people. I've had friends that known for 40 years, but they're just a lot of them just drain me and I can't do it because I want to be a version of myself. And many of them are in their hamster wheel. They don't understand my life. And if I'm going to hang out with somebody and spend time with people, I need them. It needs to be a reciprocal understanding.
Mhm.
And, they're not wrong. They're doing what they want in their life, and that's fine. Our paths are just different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think, and also we're really told not to have, not to grip, not to hold on to things that, if it's meant to be, just surrender. It will either stay or go. I think that's really where I'm at. I'm just not really saying I'm happy getting rid of people, but I've just surrendered to the process that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me, I'm reminded of the metaphor of how we interact with water. Because if you try to grab water, the tighter you grab water, the less you get to hold on to it. But if
Perfect.
but if you interact with it and you flow with it, then you get to enjoy the presence of water and the water enjoys the presence of you. And it's like, how do we create that in our energy of humans, of exchanging, you know?
Well, we grip a lot as humans. We grip to fear, we grip to our identity, we grip to so many things. So I'm just at a point in my life where I'm not even where I was where I worry about, oh my God, if that person is like not in my life, what am I gonna do? I mean, I don't even think those things anymore because I've just had so much of that happen. Would it be sad? Yes. Will I mourn it? Of course. But there's always a replacement, meaning that something more aligned always shows up. It always does. And I think because I've seen that enough times, I no longer fear the letting go.
So you've had enough proof on there's something better after this,
Yeah.
which
Even
allows it
after
easier to let go.
Yeah, I mean, in my last relationship, I mean, that wasn't right, and I knew it wasn't right, but I think it was at a point where I don't know, I think I just felt like, I don't know, I just will settle for this, it seems fine, I was gonna settle into some nice quiet life, and it just wasn't for me. I knew this, but I
Yeah.
did it anyway, and, at the end, it just didn't work out, and I made the decision to leave, and immediately, things started showing up in my life, not necessarily another relationship, but I'm just saying, like, other things, like, in my business
Right.
and my other, acquaintances, or just things just expanded, and every time I've let something like that go, which wasn't in alignment for me, I was met with something that was much more expansive and much better for me. So now I just trust. I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work out. I knew that wasn't supposed to work out. Deep down inside, I knew it, but I
Yeah.
didn't. But because I got tired of waiting for the right one, and it just hasn't shown up yet. But I'm convinced it's out there. But this is what I'm saying. You can't just settle. I mean, you can, but it may not be the best thing for you
Yeah.
because eventually the right things do show up. Maybe not in the timeline you'd like them to, but they do eventually show up.
Absolutely. And during that time, I mean, back to the lessons that are learned during that. And the more we go through this, at least for my experience, and I feel it's a shared commonality, is the lessons get shorter because we're learning them quicker. It's
Yeah.
almost like as we're kids, takes us a lot longer to understand what our parents are like keeping us from until all something almost happens and a car comes in front of us and we realize, oh, that's why I'm supposed to look both ways. Right. And then now the lessons, like, it's learned. So competency, pure
Mhm.
competency at that point. So um yeah, that's fascinating. So okay, we're pivoting, we're moving, we're transitioning into the true you. And after leaving healthcare, business, you said, was a huge focus, you loved it. You loved the challenge behind it, creating. What did leaving healthcare lead you into?
Well, first I started speaking. I was doing some speaking, and that was like, and then I was doing some consulting and stuff. And I did some medical directorships because I had experience with the MedSpas, working some random like contract jobs, this, that, and the other thing. So I mean, I was just keeping myself afloat, which was fine, but none of it was lighting up my soul the way that I wanted to. And then, I got a coaching certification that I coached for a while. And here's the thing, from somebody looking in at what I was doing from the outside, I probably looked crazy because literally I was doing a lot of things and none of it really made sense to put it all together. But I just was in a space where I was like, I'm just going to follow what interests me and just see what happens. So I did that for a while. And then that wasn't really right either for me. I really don't see myself as a coach. And then I expanded more into more of this consulting for businesses. That was more in alignment. But I
Okay.
still didn't feel like that was the whole thing because I love the idea of, so then I went and got my financial professional license. And I was like, I don't even, I was like, I'm interested in this, but and I love looking at money and numbers and businesses, but I wanted to help people protect their wealth because I've seen most of the, most people don't do that. They don't have their assets properly protected. They don't have life insurance. They don't think about these things that are really important. So I was wanting to have more of an encompassing ability to help people, healthcare practitioners, med spa owners, or even entrepreneurs. It really doesn't have to be in the healthcare space, but because I work with all kinds. That really lit me up because now I'm talking about helping them with their business, but also helping them with their life, to help them hold on to their wealth and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't even know. And then I love biohacking and vitality and all of that. So I'm like, I don't know where this fits into it. And then I love creating impact, with media. I'm about to launch my third podcast. And, I have one book, I'm working on the second. And I'm like, what does all this crazy stuff just fit into each other? Just doesn't. I feel like a crazy person. And then I'm creating an event called Vitality, Wealth, and Impact. And then all of a sudden I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what all of this piecemeal crap was all about. It's about the bigger mission. I want to help people have vitality because you can just be healthy, but not have vitality. That's not the same thing. You can have your health and vitality. If you have no money, that's a problem. So a lot of people are in debt. So I can help them with that. So now I'm bridging these two major pillars together to help people live kind of a more fulfilled life. And then if you don't have impact, you don't have your purpose, you can have the vitality and the wealth, but now you don't really have that fulfillment. You don't
Right.
have that thing, that excitement that gets you up in the morning. That's purpose. That's impact. And I was like, whoa, this is what I've been after the whole time. Now I've created an ecosystem with vitality, wealth, and impact. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just love when it shows up and you're like, this is what I've been doing. I thought I was I really not just like, why am I doing all these things? But I felt so called to do them. It wasn't like I was creating it from my mind.
Yeah.
These things were created, they were embodied. They were created by my higher self. I don't know what you want to say, but
Yeah.
the passion behind them was huge. It wasn't like something you tactically create strategically in your mind. And then when this dawned on me, I was like, oh my God, it makes sense now what I've been doing. So then I realized no wonder I wasn't satisfied in medicine. That was just a very small subset of a larger ecosystem that I wanted to create. It played its role. It was great, but it wasn't the whole thing.
Mhm. That is fascinating in so many levels. To begin, it's interesting. So like I went into healthcare to help people, right? Because that's the idea. Like most people in healthcare have this innate yearning to help.
Of
It's
course.
right. And that's the draw to it. But there's limitations to that. And my life has been spent figuring out ways that I actually help people through my purpose, through my like, how do I make an impact? It's one thing to take care of a patient, and it's a great privilege to take care of a patient
It-
and to do the things that are needed in a time that they need that. It's another thing to empower an individual to take control of that triad that you just spoke of. Bob Proctor calls it wealth, health, and happiness. So that's his measure of success. And it reminded me of the way that you phrased that. So it's one thing to help someone with a symptom, with a diagnosis, with an event. It's another thing to set them up to where they have power of their own health, wealth, and happiness. And all of a sudden, they can go help other people with the same. And that expands. Both very purposeful, both very different impacts.
Yeah. And it's just one is a movement, where
Yes.
and the other is just kind of in a way static, I mean,
Yeah, it's like episodic. It's
yeah,
like one
yes,
episode at a time, as opposed to this momentous like energy that is just flowing.
yes. And once people hear what I'm doing, they all get it. They just never put all three together in that way.
Yeah.
And again, they do that.
Neither did you until you did, right?
And now I feel that it's very nuanced because it's not just health, it's vitality. That's a very different nuance.
Yeah.
And in wealth is not just about greed and wealth. It's about wealth that you create for your legacy, for your family. And obviously, so you can live well into your older years. Nobody thinks about this stuff because it's not sexy. It's not fun to think about how you're going to die and what you're going to leave behind. And none of it's sexy, but it's extremely important. If you have a family, if you have property, if you have a business, you need to be protecting these things for your family and for who you leave behind. And then the impact is just so huge. And for me, I'm doing a publishing imprint as well, because impact is made with books, impact is made with media, impact is made on a website, impact is made by public relations. There's just so many aspects. So I love the idea of bringing all these kind of leaders together in these discussions and events. And I was like, now this is it. Now this feels like my purpose.
So when all of these came together and you had this aha moment of, oh, wait a minute, I've been making this recipe this whole time. I just didn't realize all these ingredients didn't seem like they were going to match and fit together. It's almost like when I made black bean brownies. I was like, this doesn't make sense, right? But
Right.
So when you realize that all of these ingredients actually taste phenomenally, like what happens internally when you realize that?
I don't even know if I've really embodied the sensation. Because I'll be honest with you, I bet that this podcast kept getting rearranged because maybe it was waiting for this moment. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because to
maybe.
be honest with you, I had half-baked ideas of what I was creating, and I didn't really know. But about 2 weeks ago, the event idea came to me, and then I proposed it to a club that I work with and I'm a member at, and they loved it, and I was like, man, like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, right? And then I was like, wait, it's not just the event. My whole ecosystem is about this. That was an aha moment that literally just came probably this morning when I woke up. I wake up with these things and I'm like, wow. So yes, it was exactly. It's like all those things that you don't think go together. It's kind of like pineapple on pizza, but black bean and I think in your recipe.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. That's not going to be any good. But when you put it all together, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is, oh, that's super cool. And yeah, I love that you wake up with ideas, because
Like
because
first
they're,
thing. And then I know they're good ones because the ones that I come up with in the morning, they're always the right ones with massive clarity because I didn't think about them. Oh, and for all of you out there, if you think all decisions need to be made with your head and your mind, you are absolutely wrong. I'm going to just say that because that mind has always steered me wrong. It steered me into fear. It steered me into all kinds of comfort zones. When I listen to my body, it always tells the truth.
yeah.
So wake up in the morning, idea, body's like, oh yeah, we like this. I'm like, all right, we're going with it.
And okay, this is super important. I want to highlight something here, because within human design, I believe, okay, so you said you're a manifesting generator. You're an emotional manifesting generator, correct? Okay.
Mhm.
So this is huge because I'm an emotional generator. I spent close to a decade not feeling emotions. So I was hiding emotions for protection based on the work that I was doing.
Me too.
and I couldn't turn it on and off, right? So all it was doing was leading me away from alignment of my true self. Because to your point, as an emotional generator, I have to feel in order to make good decisions. Otherwise, I'm making decisions up here and they are spur of the moment, they are analytical, and they have nothing to do with impact and everything to do with survival. So huge, like, and those are the when I learned what my human design was after I went through, my whole journey, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. That's why I felt polar opposite of who I was, because I wasn't feeling anymore.
So true. I went through the same thing. I think a lot of us in healthcare do it because we have to numb ourselves,
Mhm.
especially if you're extremely emotional. And I'm very much an empath. So imagine seeing 30 people a day or 35 people a day
Mm.
take on people's energies. I didn't know that was even a thing,
Yeah.
but it was like, why am I so exhausted at the end of the day? I like people. I'm an extrovert. I like talking, but I didn't understand that I was absorbing people's energies.
Yeah.
So these are just things that nobody teaches you, and I would just be exhausted. Now I understand that, and I also understand how to protect myself. I'm also not around a lot of as many people. That helps. These are things that nobody teaches you about. They don't teach you about human design. That would have been helpful, I think, for me to know
Yeah.
that making decisions from a different place was actually more beneficial to me.
Yeah. And it's a small tool that makes a huge difference in our day-to-day life, and therefore increases the vitality, because it leads when I make good decisions based on my design, my vitality increases because I'm not freely giving my energy away and I'm not absorbing other people's energy. And sometimes that's needed. Sometimes, like quick example, like I have an undefined throat. So I use the ideas of other people and to help me formulate and communicate the ideas that I have up here and down below. I can get into a room and I can borrow that energy from the people I'm in the room with and give that back to them if I'm attuned to it and if I understand where I am. Otherwise, I'm just freely giving energy away. And in an hour after a talk, I'm like, I'm drained. Why? Because everyone in this room just absorbed every single bit of my energy. And so, to your point, what happens when we get to the end of the day, or not even the end of the day, like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and we are exhausted? Well, we wrote too many energy checks for the day and like we're completely depleted. So knowing your human design is one way, in my opinion, like probably the easiest way to understand how do I control my energy as opposed to just let my energy react with the world.
So true. I mean, once I understood that, it really did change a lot for me. Manifesting generators are often very creative. They've got a bunch of irons in the fire. They're just doing like 17,000 things at once. But people say, well, that's a lot. And I'm like, I don't know, but I don't know how to function any other way. Like, I
Yeah.
like this. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I actually like it. I didn't
Yeah.
know that I could just do one thing. I'd be very bored. It doesn't work for me. So I would try to make myself something I'm not. So understanding that I was a manifesting generator, as soon as I read what that was, I was like, "Oh god, now it totally makes sense."
It's almost like validation, isn't it? It's like finally someone said it's okay for me to be me because like this
Right.
fits everything I am. And it's also like, okay, my trial and fail, trial and fail, trial and fail, trial. Oh, I passed. Like I figured it out. That is explained in my human design. And I'm like, okay, I'm Thomas Edison. Like I will try and as many times as possible until I get it. And that's cool. And that's even getting less and less because I'm using my emotions. I'm using my entire design for my day to day as opposed to just um ad hocing, everything and just jumping in. But it's what we do with those failures. So are we gathering the data necessary and then moving and continuing and building upon that? Or are we just saying, that didn't work. I'm going to move on to something else. And I think like understanding this is key in each and every one of us. And it's also a reason why I despise a one size fit all approach to coaching, to consulting, to if someone says do this, it'll fix everything. It probably won't.
Mm-mm. Nope, agreed. I mean, there's no one size fits all for anything in this world. So why, it's just the craziest idea. But
which
totally.
which brings us back to like medicine, because medicine is presented as a one size fits all. It's this is the treatment for this. Well, what if we looked at this from a holistic approach? What if we looked at this from not just symptoms and illnesses, but from this vitality? Because to me, illness, diseases is simply a way that takes us away from our vitality. So,
Well, in what I did, a lot of the treatments were really going to come at a loss of vitality for head and neck cancers, per se. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind. So if somebody has a cancer of the tongue, well, let's remove a portion of their tongue so they can't eat, they can't speak, they're aspirating. There's so many things that happen. But the goal in our world of medicine most of the time is survival.
yeah,
It really should be vitality. We're missing the boat a lot in the way we handle medicine. And then not to mention that Western medicine cuckoos Eastern medicine. And I truly just believe that there should be a synergy between all of these modalities because they're all different and they help different things. Even within acupuncture, there's so many different ways to do acupuncture based on what you're trying to get as far as the outcome. There's just so much out there. That's why I love the word vitality, because those are the fun things that I like talking about and talking with different world leaders. And I meet people from all over the country and all over the world. And I imagine and envision something like this being global, where people come together and really share ideas. Different leaders from different countries, from different professions, who have different ideas, different ways they like to do things. There are so many amazing people out there in the world. There's not one right way to do anything.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, an all inclusive approach, ultimately, of how do we use all of our tools within our various toolboxes and toolkits and treat based on the person instead of based on a series of symptoms or something associated with this part of the world, right? Because if I'm in Europe versus California, treatment's going to be different. If I'm in California, your neck of the woods, or in Tennessee, where I live, it's going to be different treatment,
Yep.
right? So, how do we cohesively come together and provide holistic care utilizing the ancient ways of nutrition, right? Let thy food be thy medicine be thy food. Like
Exactly.
there's power behind that. How do we bring that back into reality, as well as herbs, as well as the new technology that is out, and how do we blend and merge all of this? And I will start with asking you that question. How do we do that?
Well, I think there's so many different ways to do it. I don't think there's one right way, but what I think that it's our responsibility to share the different things that we know with other people so they can make their own decision on how they want to go through it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can look at anything simple as just diet. There's 100 different ways people think it should be, and then exercise, 100 different ways they think that should be. Diet, 100 different ways they think that should be. The bottom line is we have to have our agency and decide what's right for us. So,
Yes.
meaning, there are people out there who don't agree with, maybe hit exercise or weightlifting. They just say yoga is the best. Personally, I actually feel for me, it's a little bit of it all. I like yoga, but it doesn't intrigue me mentally, and it
Yeah.
doesn't challenge me in the way that I want to be challenged. I like something a little more fast paced, so I like martial arts. But yoga is wonderful. I mean, I wish I did it more. I don't because I like the fast powered stuff with all the hit and the weight training and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we have to find something that works for all of us. As far as nutrition, there's a lot of things that could be recommended, but then there's a lot of things you can't physically really do.
Mhm.
So sometimes supplementation is really important because, you can't really get all the things. But then you have to find high quality supplementation, things that are researched and science backed and quality controlled and all that. There's just so much to this. Then there's all kinds of, biohacking methods and fasting, there's a million things. So I think it's just great to present the information, not about making decisions for people. I want people to know what there is to know so they can just feel into themselves and feel what's right for their body. So I don't think each of our bodies are the same either. What's good for one person's body may not be the right thing for another person's body.
Yeah.
And I think that's what our bodies tell us. So when I do yoga, I like it once in a while, but it's not the thing that I can sustain and do because my body tells me I don't want to go.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Yeah. Which is interesting because as a generator, there's energy to be expunged. And sometimes that's why the high levels of activity is needed. However, there's power in the yoga because sometimes you brought such a great point of if we learn to listen to our body's going to tell us what we want. Do we need to slow down and go within? Yeah, yoga's your thing. And you can stand in one pose for an hour and feel
I
like you're dying. You can stand for 2 minutes and feel like you're dying,
Yeah, that's me.
So so there's that. And there's also like, yeah, to your point, everyone's different and every day is different. So whether whether you are needing a methodical, I have to do this routine, or mixing it up, it's right. There's as long as you're doing it, as long as you're moving, it doesn't matter. And I think the quickest, best way to shift healthcare into a holistic approach is to invite everyone into the same sandbox. Because I think we have sandboxes spread out. And this idea came to me through my journey when I was exhausting Western medicine, still having this excruciating, debilitating gastric thing that was going on that turned out to be cortisol related.
Yep.
I had a chiropractor who gave me relief, and I had 3 hours of relief, and it was the first time I had relief in months. And after that, he told me, and I will always remember this, there is room in this world for every type of practitioner. If we could create a space to where we all can come together and provide what each practitioner offers,
Mhm.
we have a holistic approach. But we silo these.
Yes.
So to me, the entire healthcare industry is siloed from Eastern to Western, right?
Mhm.
And then within Western, we're siloed from specialties, from ENT to gastroenterology to endocrinology to neurology, and then within the hospitals, we're
Mhm.
siloed. Within the departments, we're siloed. And
Mm.
all of this leads to siloing individuals and creating spaces to where the survival mode of silo, of it's me, is
Mhm.
actually a direct representation of this cascade effect of siloing from macro down to a micro level.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I agree with you. I mean, I've worked with so many wonderful practitioners and I have different practitioners for different things. I go to a chiropractor that specializes in stretching, for certain things. Then I have an acupuncturist who does this deep belly acupuncture into the muscle belly because my traps are always so tight and all these things. And then I have a different practitioner. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's so much in ways. And I often, bring these people on the show because I love to hear. I want other people to hear just what's out there.
Yeah,
And just know.
absolutely. And that's the thing. When we learn to listen to our body, we learn to understand what we actually need. Do we simply need a massage? Because do we need to get these muscles relaxed, these toxins out, so then we can release them? Or do we need medicine? Because there is room for medicine. Medicine has a meaning and has a use in our lives. Do we need better food? Do we need to eat at a better schedule? Another thing with human design, it shows us when we digest food and ideas the greatest. And which is interesting because if we simply go on that, we're going to increase vitality.
Yeah.
And all of this I love this conversation because this is about empowering individuals. And you said the word agent, they have agency in their own life. And so I've lived with type 1 diabetes for 35 years. I keep taking less and less insulin. My A1C is getting better and better and better. I'm at risk for diabetes now, which is fascinating because that doesn't like this trajectory doesn't happen. But when I'm in the doctor's office, I'm watching and I'm like, how many people in here have agency? And it doesn't appear that
Right.
many of them do.
Yes.
And you can feel the difference.
And I think our medical system is kind of almost designed to take it away. And I
Yes.
don't like that. I want to give them people their agency back. And that's, once people have their agency, they live a more empowered life and they live more fulfilled. They're able to create positive impact on others. It's a real ripple effect. It ripples out into everything. Imagine what society would be like if more people had their own agency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It would shift because if the history of society has taught us anything, there's power in the people. And if the majority, or even let's go to the Jeffrey Moore's chasm, crossing the chasm of the law of diffusion of innovation, like even if we get that 18% agency of people, that is going to diffuse into the rest of the population and thereby creating agency through the majority. And it's amazing that it only takes that much, like the 18%, which tells me that we have a very low percentage of agency right now in this
Because
world.
I think what we had instead of agency is a high proportion of fear. Because once you have fear, you're controlling the masses with fear. Fear removes our agency.
Correct.
And so right there, if you're operating from fear, you are likely not operating from your full agency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is just what I think. I think that first that fear has to be somewhat dismantled to some degree before you can really, really reclaim your agency.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. Because the fear is that metaphoric tiger that's chasing you. And when we realize that nothing's chasing us, like there's nothing to fear, and we don't have to take everyone's word verbatim and do exactly as prescribed, and lead more into the self-awareness of the self-actualization and the self-understanding of, wait a minute, I do have agency here. I can stand up for myself. I do have a voice. And what does that look like? Like asking the questions that our 5-year-old self would ask, is, what would happen if I did this? No, let's try it. Let's try it and see.
Yeah. So you don't know until you try it.
Yeah. But I think fear and so fear leads that cascade of negative chemicals in our body that, we learn to live on cortisol. We learn to live on, as my buddy says, non-earned dopamine. We can earn dopamine through working out, through accomplishing things, and like the good habitual dopamine. But the screen time, the texting someone just to hear the ding, and so on and so forth. Like we learn to live on that, and it creates a different cascade of chemicals within our body as opposed to the healthy vitality ones. So
and it takes a long time, I think, to find those healthy vitality chemicals. It really does. And I think most of them are found through peace and alignment. At least that's just in my world. That's where I find the most healthy chemicals are coming from me, is from peace and alignment.
which is super hard. I mean, super easy to get to in a place where we're feeling like non-peace and completely misaligned. So as we begin to wrap this up, where do people start to find this peace and this alignment? How do they begin?
That is such a long question, but I would say this. One thing that I've actually been thinking about this, because where do you tell people to start? I would tell people to start with some quiet time. Really, just some quiet time, because if you don't have that quiet time, that nothing will ever find you that's meant for you, because your head is filled with noise, your life is filled with noise. So whether it's just a day to yourself or a couple of hours to yourself, just without a phone, without all of those things, find some quiet time. You'll start to really feel that there are things that come through that don't come through at other times. Now, I really have a lot of alone time, and I can't say I love it all the time, but I do love it most of the time because I just have gotten to a place where I feel very comfortable with myself. And let's think about how that affects every other relationship that I'm in. It's
Yes.
definitely a positive thing. I mean, I had some real work to do on myself, and I feel that I'm finally at the tail end of it. Not that it's done, but just it's really in a good place. So that's, I think, the first thing, quiet. A little, maybe slow down a little bit. If you can't completely find the quiet, at least maybe find a few days out of the week that you could just take things slow. That's even a huge positive impact.
So slow down, decrease the noise, right?
Mhm.
And go within, which is sometimes hard. As from my experience, it's very hard. And I heard something amazing that once we learn once we learn to love the company we are with, we'll no longer feel like we're alone. And I was like, I love that. So ultimately, as soon as I reconnect with me and learn who I am and I'm comfortable with me, I yearn to be alone because it's no longer lonely. It is, I'm enjoying this quiet time. So I resonate with what you said. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I never thought I would be this person because I really didn't like any time alone, but I really do enjoy it. And then what it does is it actually makes you more you really look at the people you spend time with a little bit more closely, and you really are more choosy
Yeah,
because you actually enjoy your alone time and you're not using other people to just fill space and create noise. It's better to choose from a place of alignment rather than loneliness.
totally agree. I love this. And I wish we had more time to
Well,
dive into that. So
another
where can people find you?
So you can find me on my website. It's drkalpanasundar.com. You can find me on Instagram and it's drkalpana.unbound. And also YouTube is the same thing, Facebook, all of and actually on LinkedIn, it's just Dr. Like, well, that's a long name, but you can find me. Sure.
I'll have it below as well, just to make it easier. But thank you. Any last minute things you want to share that maybe we didn't cover, or something you want to end on?
I just would love to end on the fact that I love that you and I have these amazing conversations. I mean, talk about the resonance. I feel truly grateful. I mean, this was such an intriguing conversation. So just thank you so much for having me and being such a great host.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. I enjoy these as well. So, yeah, guys, thank you for joining us. I am excited to see how we continue to enhance and expand humanity in a direction that we want it to go, instead of continuing this reactionary direction of where we think we should go. No, let's design what we want. Let's get there, and let's help one another in the meantime. And let's utilize resources, and that includes one another. Let's capitalize on the amazing people in our networks. And I'm grateful for this space. I'm grateful for this conversation, and yeah, I'm blessed to be here. So, Dr. Sundar, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. And guys, I will see you next time. And until then, be well, be love. Thank you for listening to Pep Talks with Eric. If something sparked today, pass it forward. Remember to subscribe and share it with someone who needs it. Keep doing the thing. Keep showing up. You're not alone in this. And we're not whole without you. I'll see you next time.